Welcome to today's explainer. Think about it. From the literal second you wake up, you are hit with a relentless stream of choices. What to eat, what to buy, where to focus your attention. But what if the environment where you're making those choices is actually pulling the strings behind the scenes? Today, we are diving into the hidden architecture behind our decisions. We're drawing straight from the foundational concepts of behavioral economics to figure out exactly why we do what we do.
So, let me ask you, are your choices really your own? Or are you being gently nudged? We all love to think of ourselves as completely autonomous, perfectly rational actors, right? Carefully weighing every single option before making a move. But the reality? It's way more interesting. The environments we navigate every single day are explicitly designed in specific ways, and that design profoundly influences our behavior. We aren't just making choices in a vacuum, we're interacting with carefully constructed frameworks.
Okay, let's dive right in. Here is our roadmap to unpack this behavioral toolkit. First, the power to nudge, then the basic concept, handling defaults and expecting errors, mappings and feedback, managing complexity and incentives, and finally, architecting your own choices.
Starting off with Section 1, the power to nudge. Now, we aren't just talking about abstract ivory tower economic theories here. This is a highly practical application of behavioral economics. Choice architecture is explicitly used to help nudge people. It essentially takes everything researchers know about human behavior, cognitive biases, the whole shebang, and puts it to work in the real world. Now, remember, a nudge is not a mandate. It's not a strict rule. It's like, imagine a school cafeteria putting the fresh fruit right at eye level while the junk food is kind of tucked away on the bottom shelf. The kids can totally still grab the junk food, but the environment itself gently pushes them toward the healthier option.
Moving to Section 2, the basic concept.
So, the absolutely crucial point here is defining what this actually is. Choice architecture is, at its core, the design of how different choices are presented to consumers. Notice the phrasing there. It's not about changing the actual choices themselves, just changing the presentation of those choices. And the ultimate goal? The impact it has on consumer decision-making, specifically used to nudge people toward better choices. Honestly, whoever designs the menu, the online form, or the app interface, they are the choice architect, and their design absolutely dictates the flow of human behavior. To really grasp how this works under the hood, we need to look at this 6-part behavioral toolkit. Architects basically use these distinct tools: applying defaults, expecting error, understanding mappings, giving feedback, structuring complex choices, and creating incentives. Think of these as the mechanical gears running behind the scenes of our daily environments. Let's break down each one. Which brings us to Section 3, defaults and expecting errors. Let's look at the first pairing in our toolkit. These two foundational concepts both deal with the fact that human attention is a highly limited resource. On one hand, we have applying defaults, which is basically passive guidance. It's like walking on a nicely paved, easy path through a park. On the other hand, we have expecting error, which is active prevention. That's more like putting sturdy fences near the cliff edges of that same park. Both keep you safe, right? But one gently pulls you along the path of least resistance, while the other puts up guardrails for when your attention inevitably wanders. So let's zoom in on applying defaults. This is a massive one in choice architecture because, let's face it, doing absolutely nothing is the easiest choice a human being can make. By pre-selecting the better choice, architects are basically weaponizing our natural inertia. The absolute classic example of this is retirement savings. When companies switch their 401k plans from an opt-in system, where you have to do the paperwork to sign up, to an opt-out system, where you're automatically enrolled unless you actively cancel, participation rates literally skyrocket. It's effortless guidance. And then we have expecting error. Truly good choice architecture never pretends that users are perfectly rational robots. Instead, it actively recognizes human fallibility. By expecting error, architects are acknowledging that, hey, people rush, they misread things, they just make mistakes. Think about your car chiming when you accidentally leave the headlights on, or when your email client pops up saying, "Did you mean to attach a file?" because you typed the word attached but totally forgot the document. These systems literally expect you to mess up, and they proactively deploy a safety net. Next up, Section 4, mappings and feedback. Now let's see how this builds, because these next two tools create a continuous, dynamic loop. Step 1 is understanding mappings, which is connecting a choice to an outcome. And Step 2 is giving feedback, where the system actually responds to your choice.
Without this loop, making a decision kind of feels like throwing a rock into a bottomless pit. You have absolutely no idea where it went or what it hit. Understanding mappings is all about clarifying the relationship between your choice and its ultimate outcome. A great architect makes sure the user understands exactly what their choice is going to result in. Think about moving a computer mouse. You slide the physical mouse to the right, and the digital cursor immediately moves right. That is a solid, clear mapping. Bad mapping? That's like a stovetop where the knobs are in a straight row, but the actual burners are in a square, leaving you totally guessing which knob controls what. Clear mapping just builds immediate confidence. But mapping alone isn't quite enough. The system has to talk back to you. Giving feedback is about providing clear signals about the choices being made. When you do something, the architecture needs to instantly tell you, did it register? Was it successful? Do you need to fix something? It's that deeply satisfying little click when you press a button, or the big green check mark when your digital payment finally goes through. Feedback is the immediate reinforcement guiding you step by step.
All right, Section 5, Complexity and Incentives.
In our modern world, we are rarely starved for information, are we? We're usually completely drowning in it. When we face massive amounts of data, disorganized lists just paralyze us. Seriously, think about buying a house or picking a health insurance plan. If you just stared at a raw spreadsheet of every single option, you'd probably freeze. A skilled choice architect structures complex choices into a logical, manageable path. They filter the noise down step by step so you can actually make an informed decision without the panic attack. And finally, we have creating incentives. Because look, you can have the best defaults, super clear mappings, amazing feedback, and beautifully structured complexity, but sometimes people still need that final push. Creating incentives is about designing motivations that actually drive the nudged behavior. This might be a tax break for buying an electric vehicle, or maybe a 5% discount on your utility bill just for setting up autopay. It brilliantly aligns your personal interests with the better choice the architect wants you to make.
Which brings us to our final section, architecting your own choices.
Ultimately, as the source points out, choice architecture can be used to help nudge people to make better choices. And that's absolutely crucial. It's really not about trickery, it's about optimization. Whether it's an institution organizing its intake forms, a grocery store laying out its produce aisle, or an app tweaking its interface, this architecture is literally constantly at play. It's always there, gently guiding you toward what the architect defines as a better choice.
So what does this all mean for us? It means waking up to the fact that from the default notifications buzzing on your phone to the incentives at your local supermarket, your choices are carefully structured. Once you really recognize these 6 tools, applying defaults, expecting error, understanding mappings, giving feedback, structuring complex choices, and creating incentives, you can actually begin to decode the systems guiding your everyday decisions. You start to see the invisible frameworks all around you.
Which leaves us with one final, pretty provocative question to ponder. Who is architecting the choices you make today? Now that you're armed with the tools of the trade, take a hard look around your environment. Notice the defaults, spot the incentives. Because once you see the architecture, you can navigate it with so much more awareness and perhaps even start architecting better choices for yourself. Thanks for joining me on this explainer. Keep questioning the design, and I'll see you next time.